Well, welcome back to Streets and Eats. And today we have guests, Brad and his grandmother, Grandma Joy, who have been on this adventure of a lifetime together. And we want to hear all about it.
Welcome to Streets and Eats, the travel and food podcast dedicated to taking our listeners to the sights, sounds, and flavors of fascinating places near and far, both on and off the beaten path. We're Jim and Corinne Vale, and we've been traveling internationally and domestically together for decades, visiting more than 90 countries in all 50 states in the USA. We'll share all of the local knowledge and food expertise we've gathered through years of living as expats in Asia and Europe, as well as traveling with families spanning multiple generations around the world. Join us each week for a new adventure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, is it still morning there? They're on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast. It's morning for me.
Technically, yeah, I think so. We're getting in right before noon. So yes, we
squeaked right in there. Okay. So tell us about how you got started traveling together, and especially with your goal, I believe, of going to every U.S. national park.
Yes.
Well, we've always had that mutual love of wildlife and nature. I was able to go and, leave my little town and lived in Africa many times in my life. And I've worked with cheetahs in Namibia and hyenas in South Africa. And I was able to see all these amazing wild creatures and epic landscapes. And my grandma Joy was left behind in Duncan Falls, Ohio, where she's lived in the same house for over 6 decades. And we were, in a period of our relationship where we were kind of reconnecting after a period of estrangement that stemmed from my parents' divorce, and filling her in on the gap of 10 years was, it took us from those African savannas to my 6 months on the Appalachian Trail. And it just kind of came up organically, I guess, and just in a very just matter-of-fact way. She said, I wish that I would have seen mountains in my life. I wish that I would have, if I have any regret, it's that I didn't get to experience the great outdoors in the way that I dreamed I would, watching the Travel Channel all these years and only experiencing life that way. It just felt to me like I could at least take her on one camping trip to the Smokies, which is, a 7-hour drive from where we live. And so it started as just from my perspective, it was just going to be a one and done. Give me that piece that, at age 85, she finally got to see some mountains. And what happened on that trip was kind of transformational for both of us in that I didn't expect her to enjoy camping. I didn't expect her to climb a mountain with me. I didn't expect her to remain joyful through the rain. And because I could see what a gift that was for her, and simultaneously she was providing me with all this wisdom and perspective for resilience at a point in my life when I really needed it. I was in my 4th year of vet school. In my clinical year, I'd been pretty much chained to that teaching hospital the entire year. It was a really healing, beautiful experience for both of us. So that's where, I drop her back off at her front porch at the end of that 3-day weekend. And I just started thinking, I need more of that. I need more of that magic sauce.
Sure.
That felt so good. And I think a lot of people from my generation can relate to that hyper focus on career. You don't leave people behind out of malice. You just, it's a competitive world and we're trying to get ahead. But at a certain point, that hyper focus on career, I think, leads to a lot of personal unhappiness, depression, anxiety. We have to find a greater purpose for our lives outside of work. And that's a balance. And that's been my key message for people my age. You need it. And veterinarians I'm a veterinarian. I don't know if I said that.
You did.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's a profession that's at the very top of the list for suicide.
Oh, really?
Yep. Suicidal thoughts, a variety of mental health problems, and quite frankly, burnout and people abandoning the profession after a lifetime of sacrifice to get there. And so, I go out and I speak to veterinary students and veterinarians. And I think this applies to a variety of professions, but especially for my profession, my message is you've got to shed this perfectionism and this idea that working 60 or 70 hours a week is something that you should wear with a badge of honor. That's not a life well lived. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really great that you answered our call, because that is something that Jim and I have really striven to give. We're teachers, and we've been teaching students and military kids primarily throughout our careers. And of course, you can imagine with that, there's a lot of trauma and a lot of different issues that can go on. But really, it is about balance, and it's about family. And for me to hear that you have done this sort of healing through reconnecting with your grandmother is another touchstone that we're always pushing, because I believe in our society, we have sort of lost a lot of that multi-generationality where we have our, because we are so busy, whether it's social media, whether it's our actual career, whether it's the travel in between all the different places we have to go and conferences, that we have just not been able, as you say you weren't, to maintain those relationships. And yet, how special are they, and how important are they to your mental well-being? So thank you. Just thank you, because you're just hitting all the right notes.
Yeah, well, it's the truth. And it's amazing to be on a personal mission, which we were on for many years. We were at our 29th park when Acadia National Park shared a photo that ended up going viral on Reddit, which made our personal journey international news story. But the public rallied around us and corporations rallied around us, because I think that it resonates with so many people, this idea of nostalgia for grandparents, a time when things were simpler. I mean, it's almost a way for me to recreate the magic of my childhood. She's probably the only person that I could travel with that would unlock that that period of time in my life and make it feel palpably real right now. At age 41, I'm still her little grandchild, which is it's great. It's great because and also for her, once you're in nature and in these magical spaces, your age is irrelevant. Your political affiliation is irrelevant. Your race, your religion, everybody is communing together in these sacred spaces. And it actually gives you a lot of hope for humanity when you can experience these places with your fellow human beings across generations. And we've seen a lot of examples of that. We are definitely an odd couple, for sure. The grandma grandson traveling around. We always knew that we stood out a little bit from the pack in that way. But when you see young children, coming up to her like she's anybody else and passing the binoculars to look at the moose, you realize that that's really who we are. And then something happens along the way where it's not as cool, I guess, to hang out with people who are of a different generation. And we drift away from that. But I don't think that's at the core who we are.
I agree 100%. And I think that, there will be lapses in relationships. And that's natural. And that's part of human development as well. You get to be a teenager and, none of your family is fun. I mean, that's just the way it is. And maybe into your early 20s or something. But I definitely think that it doesn't take long for you to miss that relationship and want to have it back in any way that we can find commonalities. And as you did, a goal, something to do, traveling together, which, I mean, that's the core of my heart is traveling. and the reason is I was just talking yesterday. That's why it was hard to connect with a friend that we met traveling. And we talked on the phone for quite some time. And he said, it's all about people, because that's what the world is made up of, is people.
Yeah.
And the relationships, whether it's a short-term relationship or a long-term relationship. So for me, for Jim, I think, for us, it's seeing the world, experience that natural beauty, as well as the human interaction and the people that go along with it. So, wow. And Grandma Joy, how has it been for you? I mean, we've heard from Brad how it's been this healing process and this revelation. And how did you feel when you started off on this journey of travel?
Well, I was excited when you spend most of your life in this little town with 2,000 people, and your biggest excursion was go to Lake Okeechobee to go fishing. So, but when we started, it was just he and I, and we enjoyed each other and everything. And when you go to these parks, they restore your soul. Absolutely. You walk in and you can just feel the wonder as you go through all these wonderful things that weren't man-made. The Lord had a big hand in that, and then makes you pause and just look around with wonder and be so glad that you're there.
It is. I agree with you. It is somewhat spiritual, isn't it? When you take in the beauty of this huge country that we have that is so diverse, and so all the different parks have so many different things to offer. It is mind-boggling. I agree with you 100%. So, okay, so you went to the Smoky Mountains. That's actually one park I haven't been to yet.
Wow.
Myself, because we're more West Coast sort of oriented. We have been to all 50 states and everything, but and we lived in Alaska, so but the thing is,
that's a wonderful place.
Oh, isn't it? It just is. It's gorgeous. Although I have to tell you, after living there for 8 years and dealing with 7-month-long winters on icy roads.
We were just talking about that yesterday. I don't know how people do it. It was very, I mean, when you're there in the summer and it's pretty much dusky all night long and never really dark, that's fun. The opposite would not be fun for me.
Well,
no, it's really hard.
I have to say, living there is hard, but I do suggest, and this is probably a soapbox of mine. All my listeners have heard it 100 times, but I do suggest going to Alaska at least once during the winter and experiencing it, because the Northern Lights, the sled dog races. I mean, the light is magical, even though it's not very light a lot. Even the blue hour, which is like 4 hours long, and just things like that. It really is magical. So, but that's just something not to live there though. I think living there is very, very harsh. But what has been one of your favorite parks, or what of your favorite places that you've gone in the United States?
It's a long list, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Like Carlsbad Caverns. And we got to see the bears, to catch the fish.
Which one?
Late this year. The salmon run was late this year. So we got to see the salmon the bear gather up the salmon.
That was in Katmai?
Yeah. Oh, it was so nice.
We saw bears in two different ways. So we saw the Brooks Falls bears that everybody knows about from the webcam.
Right.
Catching the fish that are jumping up the waterfall. But then we also saw in Lake Clark National Park bears that hunt along the sides of the lake, and they basically just pounce and use their talons as spears and get the fish that way, which was, I mean, two very different ways to experience Alaskan wildlife at its best. So, I mean, those.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is.
There's nothing that's not beautiful in Alaska. We saw all 8 national parks in 2.5 weeks. I'm pretty sure she should be in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Probably.
I don't think any 90-year-old has even been to Gates of the Arctic, much less done all 8 national parks in 2.5 weeks. And we really, we pushed fate on that one, because they said August is historically notoriously rainy and overcast, and we're sure to get rained out of something. And we had sunny skies for all 8 parks.
And 80 degrees.
And
Even in the Arctic Circle. Yeah. People asked me if we saw wildlife in Gates of the Arctic. I said, well, from the plane, we saw muskox and bears. From on foot, we saw mosquitoes.
Isn't that the truth? Well, it is the national bird of Alaska. I mean, the state bird. That's what they say. Because it's such a, big. It is slow, though. The good thing about the Alaska mosquitoes are they're so big and slow that you can really plan your attack as they get closer.
That's one thing I will kill without guilt.
Oh,
they don't bother me, but they sure do like Brad.
Is that right?
I think there must be research on preferred blood types that mosquitoes like or whatever. I think that I have the yummiest blood.
I also think it depends because Jim and I've talked about this a lot. I also think it depends on how much sugar you have.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not a good sign.
No.
I'm not diabetic yet.
But I think the sweeter you eat, the sweeter you taste.
I do like pasta and carbs, but I'm not a huge sweet fan. But anyway, yeah, that was we're in these beautiful landscapes in the Arctic Circle, and the photos are stunning. But we were,
the whole time
smacking ourselves a lot.
When we went to Katmai, we took our 2 young daughters with us. Well, they're not young anymore, but that's beside the point. But we all 4 bought mosquito suits to wear. So talk about photos. Those are some good ones.
Those come in handy in Maine too.
I'll bet. All right.
So what surprised me most about Katmai was that that's a handicap accessible trail.
Yes.
You can get a wheelchair from the ranger station and push somebody all the way down to that platform to watch the bears at Brooks Falls. I think most people don't know that. I was very, very surprised. And that's something that, of all the things that we try to do with our at Grandma Joy's Road Trip Instagram page, is just showcase that
accessibility.
Yeah, the wildest places are there for everyone.
That is wonderful. Did you guys stay at Brooks Lodge or we can't?
We didn't. We flew in and out for the day because we were on a very
tight schedule.
Yeah. But we were very lucky because that was another thing. They said when you go in August, the salmon run will be late. So you'll probably see Otis and a couple stragglers who are getting the leftovers, but it won't be that, iconic gathering that so many people want to see at least once in their lifetime. And like she said, the salmon run was late. So all the people that booked their trip in July a year in advance got the opposite experience. And we walk up and there are 35 bears.
35?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know that we ever saw 35 in one sitting when we were there.
It was insane.
We saw a lot, but it wasn't 35.
Yeah. I think our largest number was up to like 18 or something. But it was wonderful because you could stand in one point and do a 360-degree turn, and no matter where you looked, there was a bear.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. So you appreciated those viewing platforms because you were high enough so that they couldn't get you. Not that they were interested in you anyway, but still.
That's what they said. You go to bear school and they tell you you're not a salmon, so take a deep breath, and here's what you do to not create a problem for yourself. I still didn't want to have that moment, though, where I just step aside and let
the bear go by.
No. So I'm not sad that didn't happen. It would have made a great chapter in the book, I think, to have that, but I'm okay with having a less adrenaline-inducing experience.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. We did experience that one time with our 2 daughters. Like Corinne said, they were just young girls. And here we are walking down a path going to one of the platforms. And we've got bells on, of course, and we're doing our clapping and, hey, bear, hey, bear. Yeah. And we come around a corner, and around the other corner,
boom,
a big old grizzly. And we just kind of all stood together and kind of backed up a little bit on the path, and he passed us right on by. Wow.
I'm telling you, there was what would you say, Jim? 3 feet? Like
maybe
they're 4 feet, maybe
too close.
It was way too close for Mama and Papa's. We're thinking, and we had teased our littlest one. We kept saying, you're our bear bait because we are all faster than you. And here's this bear. I'm like, oh, my poor daughter is going to be traumatized for life. But no, No, we all remember it quite fondly, so that's good.
Good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we did what we were supposed to do, and thankfully the bear did what it was supposed to do as well.
We cooperated.
That's right.
So were there any parks that surprised you? Like, was more than you expected or a lot less than you expected?
I think we've been pleasantly surprised by every park. I mean, there are a couple that have a bad rap in terms of, they don't have the stereotypical natural grandeur of a place like Glacier. Cuyahoga Valley National Park in our home state gets a bad rap, I think, because people go there and they're just not as taken. It doesn't take your breath away the way Yellowstone or Yosemite does, but we don't have that in Ohio. But that doesn't mean that what is being protected there and preserved there is any less important. And that's really the perspective that we take with us as we travel around the country, is that what you're seeing from our experience, we've now been to 62 of 63, right? And every park is preserved for a very specific reason. So grandma has a lot of opinions about that.
Right. So it's really, it's been, we were at one park and someone had taken the rocks and piled them up. And Brad said, I'm going to stop the car. So he stopped the car and threw them out like they're supposed to be. He said, that's not the way it's supposed to be in this park. They're not supposed to be piled up like that.
What would have been the parks that kind of surprised you, though, in terms of, talk about Hot Springs in Arkansas.
Oh, that was fun. Hot Springs it's a fun town. You look around and you can see how it meant to be in the old days.
Is that right?
They kept all the storefronts the same. They might have different things in them, but they left all the storefronts the same. And it was really fun to be there. Brad taught me to have a massage. I never had one of them in my life, and I wouldn't do it again. I was kind of dumb.
You try to do something nice and.
That's right. But there are so many things that I count in that pile too of this is a once in a lifetime experience. Maybe other people will do it more often, but for me, once.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's just so funny. I mean, you talk to certain national parks enthusiasts and, they feel like Hot Springs or Gateway Arch National Park are places that you just have to
check off.
For completeness sake, I have to go there, but it's what you make of it. And Hot Springs is a fascinating, when you really delve into that mob, do you know about the mobster history? Like Al Capone used to go there. And
yeah, that was fun. That was really interesting.
Was it?
I left being completely enamored and fascinated by Hot Springs National Park, but it's, it's certainly not, it cannot be Acadia, and it shouldn't be. Acadia is Acadia, and exactly. You can't find what's in Hot Springs National Park there. So we haven't really, we don't do like apples to apples comparisons of the parks.
You can't. I agree with you. No. I find that with all travel anyway. It's so hard to pick favorites. It's maybe easier sometimes to pick least favorites. I mean, places that you maybe didn't have quite as good an experience that you wanted. But for me, that's always because of crowds. Have you hit a lot of crowds at different places? Yeah. I mean, on one hand, it's nice that people are getting out and seeing these things. But I do agree with the park system now that they're having timed entries and they're trying to regulate a little bit more who's being able to enter at what time so that you don't run into just massive crowds, which, by the way, are detrimental to the landscape anyway.
100%. And there are more than 5 national parks, and there are 423 national park site units or national park service units. And then there are 63 designated capital N, capital P national parks. And most people only know about Zion, Yellowstone, Yosemite, Glacier, Acadia, maybe Rocky Mountain in Colorado. So it's just, when you're spending your entire day fighting for a parking space,
right?
That's not an enjoyable experience. And like you said, there are adverse impacts on the landscape. Indiana Dunes National Park, we were there right after that became designated national park, and they ended up with more people there in the summer than they normally get in an entire year. And that name change didn't come with an influx of additional funding to add staff to the park and infrastructure, and on we go, right? And so the parks get loved to death. And so we really do believe in that. We partnered with Yosemite Conservancy. We are like newly partnered with them to promote that message of, this is why the reservation system exists. This is actually really good for your experience. This is better for the park. And we also try to promote that, go somewhere else. You're gonna Big Bend in Texas. Nobody wants people from Texas. They don't want us to tell everybody that's like, go there instead. If you're in Utah, Capitol Reef is a great way to experience Red Rock country without dealing with the crowds in Zion. Lassen Volcanic National Park in California is a great way to see geothermal features without the crowds of Yellowstone. There's a million examples of it, but it requires a little bit of education.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. So you've done 62 out of the 63 parks and you're waiting on American Samoa. Am I right?
Yep.
Right.
That's a hard one to get to. That's quite a flight.
I know. It's 6,700 plus miles from her front porch. It's the only national park south of the equator, only U.S. national park south of the equator. It's the most isolated, and there are no direct flights from the mainland.
How do you have to go through New Zealand or Australia?
You can, or I think through Samoa proper.
Okay.
The country of Samoa, and there are some Hawaii Airlines connections through Honolulu.
Is that right? I only know one person that's been there.
Okay.
One.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of travelers. Yeah. It's a long haul. I'm really rooting for you guys to get there. I hope it works.
Planning, right now the plan is to go in April because monsoon season is about to begin, and that's a 6-month rainy season. So we're not going to get rained out of that experience. So we're going to wait, and we need time to plan. There's a lot of stuff that we're hoping to do for this final park. And some of it's still being developed, but we hope that we've wanted to do a documentary forever about the whole experience. And so there's hopes that we can film there and do a retrospective of everything, but really capture the moment of getting to the finish line. Well, a finish line of sorts. We'll find something else to do after.
Good.
I'm sure. Once bitten, yeah, you never want to stop. Is that right?
Well, she never had a passport until she had to get one for Samoa. So now,
the picture looks like I have a number underneath of me.
They do that on purpose.
Smile.
They do that on purpose. Yeah. That way they can repurpose that picture later on if there's a problem. So just be careful.
Torture us.
I totally get it. So what is something that stands out as maybe a something funny that happened to you along the way that just sticks out as a good little story to tell people?
Oh, the first night
ever. She's never been in a tent before. And we arrive in the rain.
Arrived in the rain, and it was 2:00 in the morning and pouring down rain. And Brad was trying to set the tent up, and I was chasing him with the umbrella. And finally got the tent up and got the air mattress blowed up. Then we got in, and the plug came out of the air mattress. Then I had to crawl underneath the air mattress and take my feet and turn around sideways so he could fill it back up. And then I couldn't get out. And I got to laughing. Of course, he don't remember Laurel and Hardy, but I said, this is like one of them movies that they're in. And finally, we got it turned around. But I kept falling off the air mattress. So I said, to heck with this. So I just slept on the ground.
Oh.
And there was a point where, you hear the thump and you feel the shift. Grandma's no longer beside you. And I'm looking for my headlamp and reaching around in the dark, and I finally get that on my head, and all I see are 2 feet sticking out of the end of the air mattress, like the Wizard of Oz, the house that fell on the witch.
Well, scene that you just described, you need to get a cartoonist to put that in your book. That's just too cute.
Oh.
But she was laughing through the whole thing. That's what made it fun, even though it seems miserable. But it's what your choice in any given moment makes so much of a difference. And
just kind of go with the flow. It'll get better as you go along.
Don't you agree, though, that going with the flow is a theme of travel in general? Everything.
Well, we don't plan things really. We don't have strict itineraries for anything.
Good.
Ever.
I kind of applaud that. We travel the very same way. We have like this general list.
A rough outline. Yeah.
Yeah, a rough outline. That's a good way to put it. So what kinds of things do you like to do at the parks? I mean, are you looking for one adventure activity, or are you going to do something like definitely do a hike? Or are you going to listen to a ranger talk? What are the things that you really like to do?
Yeah.
Well, I like to do just about everything. I think I'll try anything one time. And when we're home, we have a state park, and we take the dogs and walk around the state park. And Brad usually about every day he comes over and we take a walk. So it's just fun. And then we talk about the things that we've seen and the wonderful people that we've met. And it's just an amazing world out there. That's all there is to it.
The best thing to do is go up to the ranger station when you're at the visitor center and say, this is how much time we have. We want an itinerary or a to-do list of things that are achievable in the time that we have. What's going to really showcase the park? And they know they've had this conversation thousands of times. And why deviate from that? Let the rangers guide you, and they're going to be able to tell you in real time based on the weather and everything else. So that the rangers are, we're their number one fans.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'll bet, especially being a veterinarian, and we are a lover of animals, so we are always looking to try and find the local wildlife. That's one of our things that we want to see in every park, because
that's our number one as well. And she can tell you. I mean, I thought it was going to be and she loves the humpback whales and the bears and everything else. I thought it would be those animals that she would talk about the most, but I find her always bring up prairie dogs and pikas.
Well, who doesn't love prairie dogs and pikas? They're amazing.
She's obsessed with pikas.
Oh, it's so cute to watch them run or scurry around.
They are. They're adorable.
I get a kick out of that.
Me too.
It doesn't have to be a huge, great big animal. Them little ones are just as busy and just as cute as the big ones.
100%. 100%.
The prairie dog, I was talking to him, and he came over to the car, and if I'd opened the door, he probably got in.
And then I had to remind her we would have died from plague.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got to watch some of those little furry ones.
We keep it in check. I'm always the buzzkill about zoonotic diseases that we can get from animals.
Well,
I know
not
too
just
much.
that. Yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm glad I don't know that much. But yeah. But at the same time, you got to keep the distance, keep them natural. And I'm a big proponent for that as well. I'm always probably a buzzkill on other people when I see people encroaching. I'm like, you need to back up from this elk. You need to back up from, this is not the way we want it to be. Yes, there's a nice flip. Yeah, I know. They just look at you like,
we're nice people, but I get very defensive and terse when it comes to inappropriate behavior around wildlife, because I know that it's the wildlife that will pay the price if they attack.
Absolutely. That's so true. Living in Alaska, we used to see that so much. People would leave, would not worry about where their fish entrails were or whatever. And of course it would attract bear. And then there's people around, and oftentimes the bear paid the price with its life. And that's just, that's so sad. It's just, there are national treasures.
We saw some lady pull up a bunch of flowers and took a picture with it and then just threw them down on the ground. That was, very upsetting. It's not supposed to do that.
No,
and they had different places cordoned off, so they were trying to get the grass to grow. And this lady let their dog in there, and Brad stepped in and
not on the land. I just stepped in at a conversation
and said, "Can you read the sign?" And she got very unwell, but too bad.
The rangers, there aren't enough of them, so we have a right. We all have an obligation to be good stewards of the park when we're there, and that sometimes that means we've got to. We don't want to go Jerry Springer, but you got to be direct.
I agree, and I want everyone to enjoy our natural beauty in our national parks, but I also want them to abide by the rules, because the rules are made for the flora, for the fauna, for the conservation of everything that we're there for. So yeah, we're big on that. We're very big on that.
Yeah, Brad goes along. If he sees plastic or cup or something, he picks it all up. And he found this beer bottle that was broken, and he gathered that all up. But he said if the animal tramped on that and got his foot cut, it might end up dying. And we took it to the lady at the gate, and he said, "You got any place I can put this beer bottle?" And she said, "No."
Oh,
that's ridiculous.
We got to figure it out.
But we got to figure out how to do with it. So, but Brad said, people don't think that animal got its foot cut. You know, it's going to get infected because this is going to talk in the dirt, and it's very upsetting.
Well, what's another place? And let's kind of switch to being more positive. I love sending a message, but I don't want to dwell on it too long. No. But
because those are the outlier moments. But the truth is that I am writing a book about this because there's just so much to remember and to share with the country and the world about how much magic is in our national parks. Grandma, I mean, I've been talking so much. I feel like
you
have a million memories.
Brad and I went to White Sands and hadn't been made into a park yet. But he said, we're going to get a jump on them. So we did. We went to White Sands, and then after we'd been there, they made a park. He said, that's one we got to jump on.
Did you know that it was in the running for being a park? Because I went before it was a park as well. And when you said jump, I thought that was so appropriate, because what do you do in White Sands? You jump and slide down that beautiful gypsum.
That's beautiful.
So gorgeous.
It really
and
is.
I don't know that there's such thing as a New Mexico sunset that isn't
stunning there.
Spectacular, yeah. We've been to Chiricahua, which is supposedly on the short list for national park status. We've been to we just came back from Ocmulgee Mounds, National Historic Site in Georgia, which is, I think Georgia is keen on getting their first national park soon. And so it's all congressional designation. It has to be, the House is the only body that can give national park status. Not the Senate, it's the House of Representatives.
Oh, how do you find out what might be the next, or what's on the list?
Yeah, Outside Magazine has an article right now about it. And so the three that are most discussed are Ocmulgee Mounds in Georgia, Chiricahua, I think we're saying it correctly, and New Mexico. That's a great place. And it's almost like a little Bryce Canyon.
Oh, cool.
But
I don't think I've been
like you have the hoodoos, and it's really neat. And then the third is Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area in New Jersey. So we're going to head there soon and hopefully do Niagara Falls and Ellis Island as a little circuit road trip. There's so much to see in this country.
There really is. It's amazing.
There's no end to it. And the more we learn, the more. Now, someone sent me an article of like the best state park in every state, and I'm like, oh man,
that'll take you forever to do. Yeah,
I know.
Okay.
Is that enough? I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's up to you, unless you have some final thoughts, and
Yeah, I mean, where if you could go back to any national park, where would you go?
I like that park that we saw all the big spider webs and and knees, cypress knees.
Have you been to Congaree?
No, it's
when you
high
walk
on my
in
list.
There, you just feel peace come over you. It's the most. You just take a big sigh when you go in there.
Is that right?
The only place. It's the only park that is flooded 4 times a year, and it has the only loblolly tree, and it can grow 75 feet
loblolly pine. Yeah. But that's South Carolina's only national park, and that's another one. I think that some people go there and they're completely underwhelmed by it, but it's what's preserved there you can't find anywhere else. Thank goodness they made that a national park, or it would have all been logged like everything else and drained and converted to a Walmart parking lot. So this is a really fantastic.
And they have the wooden walkway all the way.
Completely handicapped accessible. if you're arachnophobic, it could be problematic for you because these are like spiders the size of your head.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. They make the most beautiful
webs,
and they're huge. I mean, it's just
interesting. Actually, I tell people that I'm spider woman. Spider woman. The spiders are attracted to me. I have some type of weird pheromone, and I've proved it to people. No kidding. Like I was in Japan one time with a couple of people, and I said, "Watch that spider." It was about 6 feet away from me, and it was walking perpendicular to me, and I said, "Watch it," and it turned and walked directly.
Hi.
Yeah, I have this weird thing with spiders. So, but they don't bother me because I've never been really hurt by them or anything. So, and I love a spider web. So I guess Congaree is somewhere we're going to have to go.
Yeah. And I wish are you a good photographer?
I mean,
I'm not.
I like to think I can take some decent photos. The photos I've seen of your stuff are you taking all those photos?
Yeah. I mean, I take those, but I mean, it's easy to do a landscape, but if you're trying to get these webs and so forth, you need a special
lens.
I don't know how to do it. So I need to take some photography classes. I bought this amazing Lumix camera to take to Alaska, and I could not get anything to focus. I know I had potential to take the most amazing photos of my life, but you don't know how to use it, then
that's the thing. Yeah. And that's something that I think is a good lesson too. Don't take a brand new camera to some place you want to capture. Learn how to use it first.
It's been over a year, and I probably have several thousand photos from Alaska on that camera. And I've never even put the card in my computer to look at the photos because I'm afraid I'm going to see like a million blurry salmon, bear, you know what I mean? I just didn't want to. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised, but
I'm sure you'll get some good ones out of a couple thousand.
I hope
it's a good ratio. Yeah. It's a good ratio.
Yeah, but it's just. I think at the end of the day, like I just want people to know that age is inevitable. We're all getting older, and we shouldn't buy into this societal idea that age is all about limitation. Aging is all about, we focus on the limitations of aging and not the possibilities. And so much of what we've been able to accomplish is simply because she said yes to opportunities that so many people say no to, whether that's camping or, whitewater rafting in Wrangell St. Elias National Park last year at 91.
Wow.
Class 3 rapids. I wasn't terrified for me. I was terrified for her.
Sure.
But
I wasn't.
She loved it.
Good for you.
It was just like being on a roller coaster.
It was fun. And you've done that too.
She's gone to Six Flags, and
we went on 4.
My friends were there and they said, "You can't put her on that." I said, "Try to stop her," because
I love roller coasters.
That's wonderful. That really is wonderful.
That's what that's what I've gotten out of it too. I think that you can't have an experience like that. You can't watch your 91-year-old grandmother walking suspension bridges and zip lining and whitewater rafting, all this stuff, and then feel that, you're on this downward slope in your life every decade that comes after that. I mean, it's just not true. And I think it's not a coincidence that she's in the health and physical mental health that she's in right now. It's because she got out of the house every day, and she didn't have a lot to do in Duncan Falls, Ohio, but she got out and walked every night. And then through this experience of being in the parks and navigating trails and not, where do I put my foot and what do I hold on to do this and that, it's made her reverse.
And climbing over logs.
She's aged in reverse.
Your favorite thing, I can tell, is climbing over logs.
But she'll look at a cactus and start spontaneously bleeding. So climbing over logs doesn't usually work out well for somebody with like tissue paper skin. But anyway, we bring the first aid kit and patch her up and keep trucking. So,
well, I think that you have taught me and reminded me of so many good life lessons. Say yes to everything. Just experience life. Don't let anything slow you down. Age, disabilities. I mean, there are, like you said, accessible places all over the United States. be mindful of the rules in the park and help conserve what our natural resources are. And I don't know, I'm sure there's a few more that I've already forgotten.
And just do it. I mean, she says that all the time. Just if you didn't try, then you don't know you're going to be a failure at something. And most of the time you surprise yourself. And that's part of the magic of life, is surprising yourself and seeing what you're capable of. And you shouldn't stop challenging yourself just because you start to get some wrinkles and some great.
Don't live a life of regret.
Absolutely.
Say yes, and if you tried, at least you tried. So that's it. Try to be an optimist and say yes, not no.
And I think that the photo archive that we have shows that, she's right. It's amazing what happens when you just, most grandparents her age, maybe I shouldn't say most, but I suspect,
I'm trying to change this, but yes.
Yeah. I suspect a lot of 85-year-olds who would have gotten that phone call. Hey, do you want to go camping this weekend? Are you out of your mind?
Exactly.
And then we wouldn't have known what was possible.
Although I have to say, you asked the question. I think if lots of grandchildren asked that question, maybe they would also be surprised.
I hope so. And I hope they do ask that question.
I think that's important.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I tell everybody, is that it's not just, I didn't just save her from, another 10 years on the same front porch. I was able to widen my lens in terms of, okay, what does hardship really look like? What does adversity look like, and what does resilience, most importantly, what does resilience look like? Every problem that we face in the veterinary, to bring it back to where we began, every problem that we face in the veterinary profession, I think, is because we have historically focused on what's your physics score and what's your standardized test score, and not what have you demonstrated in life that proves that you can cope with hardship, and what have you done to strengthen that resilience muscle? Because if you don't have that, you can't assume that you're going to find it when you're in the trenches. Yeah. And so I think that we need to value certain, and veterinary medicine is catching up to that. I think that they're looking at new parameters for admission and so forth, which is so important. But the reality is that I've been able to open up her world to new possibilities, and she's made me a healthier person in so many ways. And I went back to the teaching hospital after I dropped her off 7 years ago, and I was forever changed. I wasn't the same person. I didn't feel the same sense of doom and gloom about my life when I was stuck in the study room, preparing for my board exam and everything. I just knew that
it would work out.
I would get through it, and that there was a world of possibilities waiting for me on the other side. And we kept, and here we are 7 years later, and we've driven 50,000 miles, and hopefully,
and seen wondrous things.
It really is an amazing story. Good luck with your book. Good luck with getting to American Samoa. Maybe we'll meet you there. We'll be in Southeast Asia, so it's not that far.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Maybe
we'll come over and have a cup of coffee.
That would be fun.
Hey, we're going to be on the beach in Samoa. I'm having a pina colada or whatever they
do. I mean, I hear it's an amazing small little piece of America that, plus there's American proper, Samoa proper, but yeah. It would be fun. I'm not kidding. We might do that.
I didn't ask you, but how many national parks have you all gone to?
We have not counted up our national parks, have we? I have a spreadsheet. We've been to many, but see, our lives, as I told you, we've been teaching military children overseas. So Jim and I, even though we have done a lot of travel in the United States, we've really only lived in the States together. We've been married 38 years. Mm-hmm. We've only lived in the States 10 of those, 8 of which was in Alaska. The rest has all been on military bases in various countries. And so all the United States travel that we've done, I did a bunch as a kid because my parents were big travelers and campers. And so that's always been my life. Jim, a little bit, but maybe not quite as much. And we've always done that with our kids. And now the reason we're going to Southeast Asia is my daughters moved to Vietnam because that's how we live our life. We just go and go and go and go. And so we'll be living in Vietnam for a while. And, yeah.
Imagine your children's had an amazing life. They've seen a lot of things on the way.
Well, my oldest daughter, because, of the way we've lived our lives and the way we've taught her. When she was, speaking of goal setting and stuff, when she was in 9th grade, she heard of a Girl Scout program. We were big Girl Scouts, where they would send one Girl Scout every 3 years to Antarctica for 4 months to work with the scientists on the ice. And in 9th grade, she made this a goal of hers. And when she was a sophomore in college, she did all the interviews and applications, and she was chosen. She had built up her scientific resume to work for this particular goal. And so she hit 7 continents before any of the rest of us and spent 4 months on the ice for absolutely free, going into New Zealand via the Girl Scouts. And she went to different scientific stations and learned things. So we really, I mean, it's definitely a source of pride of ours that we've raised our kids, and now our grandson, the same thing, raised them to be appreciative of people, to be appreciative of the world, to pay attention to all of those conservation rules, and to live and hopefully preserve our earth.
Oh,
that's what we've done. Yeah.
That's a wondrous thing.
It is. And it's not only is it, I think, a good thing to do, but gosh, is it fun or what?
Right.
Oh, I love it. I could spend my life just hopping from one country to the next and trying new food, and just taking it all in, all the colors and art and customs. It's a blast. I've been to 16 countries so far, which is maybe not a huge list, but I didn't start until I was in my 20s. So
that's pretty good. I think 16's way ahead of the most of the world. We're a little bit above that. We've been to something like 90 countries.
90.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but we've lived different lives. Everybody has a different path. And I used to be kind of a travel snob. I'm going to tell you, I really was, because I thought, I would never travel that way. But with this gray hair comes a little bit of wisdom. And what I've learned is any way you can get out there and see the world in your space, in your mind space, as well as your financial space, do it.
Yeah.
Do it any way you can. It's so worth it.
Yeah. Without travel, you can still learn, but when you walk into those spaces and you can taste it, smell it, feel it, it's with you forever. In a way, right? In a way that you could never experience by watching it in a documentary. I was watching, there's a moving art series on Netflix that, it's really worth, I mean, at least plant seeds in terms of where you want to go next. But I was watching the Iceland moving art documentary yesterday. It was only 28 minutes long, and I'm just like, this is everything. I almost feel like I'm there, but I know
Iceland
if I was staying on that cliff, it would be an entirely heightened experience in every way.
Iceland is spectacular, and we were living in Europe at the time, so we were able to take our own car, and we took a ferry from Denmark to the Faroe Islands, to Iceland, back to the Faroe Islands, where we stopped off and did some exploring there as well, and then back to Denmark and back to Germany, where we were living. And I also believe in independent travel. And I also believe, like you said, say yes. We've done things like, out in the steppes of Mongolia, drinking fermented mare's milk straight from a leather pouch.
Yeah.
as a doctor, as a veterinarian, I'm sure you would think of all things and reasons not to do this. But let me tell you something. You
have to say yes.
You have to say yes. And we came out all the better for it. And we've done other things too, but that's probably one of the most wild things that we've done.
Yeah.
It's just worth it.
I try to do the same thing. I've only been to Southeast Asia once. I was in Thailand during vet school to do an elephant medicine course. And we would go to the markets. And of course, I mean, that's everything you could ever imagine that could be eaten is there.
All at once.
Yeah. And so we all the vet students, like we grabbed our bag of whatever, crickets, grubs, whatever it might be. And we had a little Fear Factor type challenge in the bus ride to our hotel. And okay, we're going to do it. Film it to prove I did it. And crunch, crunch, crunch. So I prefer the crunchy insect experience to the ooey gooey grub Hakuna Matata experience, but I tried it all.
We do too. When we've gone to places like in Australia where you can try the lemon ants, and the ranger says, "Who's willing to try this?" I think I'm always, Jim and I are like vying for the first. We're like, pick me. We're always running up there and doing things as quickly as possible, and we're teachers. And so if there's kids around, we're always like, come on, let's do this, I don't know. I do think travel's infectious. It's fun. It's informative. It's educational. You can't live without it.
And that's what I couldn't accept is this. I mean, imagine you're 85 years of age and you've been to Lake Okeechobee and, I took her to Washington, D.C. to see the cherry blossoms recently. And
beautiful, right?
I always wanted to see them.
And she had not been to D.C. since her senior high school, after she graduated from high school. So she had a 50-plus year, or more than that, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
70. Yeah.
Well, whatever. But I mean, and it was an entirely...
Well, I was 18 and 92. That was quite a trip.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lifetime, really. Yeah.
But she just had this very short list of experiences. And she went from that to probably the most well-traveled national parks grandma in the world.
I'm sure you are. I have no
amazing.
Doubt.
I'm proud of
her. I like I said, I find you both very inspirational, and I really applaud your relationship. I applaud the fact that you're serving the earth, you're serving the people, and you're telling all the good stories. I think there needs to be a little bit of reality in there too, and reminders. Absolutely, you can't live without that. But just everything works out, and it just makes your heart sing, doesn't it? It makes your heart sing.
Yeah.
Yes, I appreciate that, and I sure wish I could have had some of your experiences. I can't imagine anybody go to that many countries, but it sure would be something to sit around in your old age and when you can't go anymore, go over.
Well, and we tried to take all our little kids, our teenagers, our older children, and now our grandson. I mean, we really believe in multi-generational travel as well, and we believe in just having fun. And it's amazing. So I'm not kidding about meeting you in Samoa.
Wouldn't that be great?
Happen.
Yeah, I mean, we've got your number.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, we're pretty sure we'll be there in April.
Okay.
So we're gonna work all winter long to get the funding for it and everything, and the superintendent of the national park, he said that we were in the Washington Post, I think 2 weeks ago. And
that's where I saw you.
The superintendent of the National Park of American Samoa got our article forwarded to him a lot. And so he's reached out to us, and we're gonna chat with him, and they're gonna help us with the logistics. And
wonderful.
And it's so confusing right now. That island has been, or that whole island community has been shut down since COVID, and they just opened it up in early August. So it just, by the time we knew that it was possible to go there and the start of the rainy season being in just a few weeks, it just wasn't going to happen right now. But that's okay, because we're going to make sure it's a grand finale.
Yeah. Well, I think that's wonderful. And you're going on some more travel anyway, so you're pretty busy.
I travel all the time. I work across 7 states. I'm a consultant for the largest veterinary diagnostic lab in North America. So I cover Maryland, DC, Virginia, the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida. So I'll be at the John Glenn Airport at 4 a.m.
These are the fun parts.
Yeah. My least favorite part of Florida, no offense, Orlando, but that's where I'm going first, and then up to Tampa. But anyway, when I'm road tripping, around the East Coast for work, sometimes I bring her with me so that she can watch I
babysit the dog.
Oh, I see.
While I'm talking to veterinarians about parasites.
Fun stuff.
I spend 99% of my life talking about dog and cat feces. This is why I spent 13 years in college.
Well, it sounds like you've got a good balance in life, though. So
American dream. Yeah.
I want to thank you, Grandma Joy. I want to thank you, Brad. This has been a delightful talk. I do want to meet you someday in person. We are all over the world too, so if you ever see a place that we can meet up, let's do it.
That would be great.
All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Streets and Eats. If you liked what you heard, please show us some love, hit the like button, and leave us a review. Maybe even subscribe so you don't miss any future podcasts. Also, we'd love it if you joined us on our Facebook private group, Streets and Eats, where we just have an ongoing conversation about all things travel. Ciao for now.